Yang part kedua kebanyakan ngomong ya kak, susah jadi. Kali ini kita coba untuk mempercepat bacaannya ya. Yuk. Ini susah kemarin nih lawan musuh, susah banget. Sudah ngebug, sudah rendernya lama, tapi bagus ya katanya di di Steam. Aduh. Susah banget. Oke lah, misi lah kita kejar misi ini. Oh lawan ternyata. Tuh kan render.
Mr. Hooks and Nurse Hawkins are an item. Those two have hidden their affections well.
Alert. Okay,
This
Mickey.
must be the place. It's definitely away from prying eyes. Relegated to the shadows. A kingdom of my own. At least I won't be sleeping in a coffin.
Update. Susah banget. Langsung habis.
The flower's dying. It needs water.
Coba aja lah dulu.
William Bishop's blood is much more unstable than human blood and shows extensive mutation. But this is not what happened to me. I must keep on searching. The sun is about to rise. I can feel it.
Suruh
I'll
tidur.
continue tomorrow night. I have so much time now.
Oh gitu.
If I'm to stay here until my research is complete, I'd better learn to hide my true nature from the mortals. But what about my thirst for blood? Yes, Nurse Crane?
I'm so
A crisis.
Our supply of antiseptic.
Sorry.
Some of.
I may have a solution.
However,
if combined,
the store.
perhaps I should.
It's the lot.
The abandoned.
Yes, Doc.
Please, could you?
It's the large boarded-up build
Why then?
at the
Lack of sleep.
London's.
Your dedication to the Pembroke does you credit, Nurse Crane, but when do you sleep?
We staff get our sleep when we can, Doctor. Nursing is a vocation.
That's all for... It's locked, all right.
Oh, apa sih? Itu stun ya.
With you at our side, Dr. Lee, I know that Pembroke will be.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening.
I have some...
What? The epidemic?
I retrieved your wallet. With a...
Well, yeah, Pippa Hawkins is my girl. So what?
Not at all, Milton.
Good. Please. Take this money anyway, to remind you to keep your mouth shut. Not everybody is as broad-minded.
I'd like to see your...
Wise choice, Dr. Reed. I really...
Crafting.
Discussed every streetcar.
PNG. PNG itu apa sih? Apa sih TG? Atas.
Behavior is similar to the infected William Bishop. Must be the same strain. This sickness moves faster than influenza. This key will surely grant me access to the basement.
Oh, get go. Untung nggak teriak dia. Apa sih PNG? Ini ke kiri, ini ke kanan. Terus ini. Oh, beda. Beda-beda nih PNG di sini.
I cannot enter. Balls of Mars, fortifiers. As popular as they are ineffective. But they do contain iron tartrate, and that might prove itself useful.
Waduh, ngaget nih. Ngagetin nih pasti.
These scabs feed from corpses and the husks of animals. They're not after blood. It's locked.
Ada ini. Banyak. Dia yang mati putih guys. Ya. Musuhnya tuh.
These scowls can be so ferocious. I'm not sure I can defeat them without becoming stronger. To drink blood is so tempting. It's locked. The flower's dying. It needs water.
Crafting apa sih disuruhnya? Fatigue itu apa ya?
I cannot enter.
Finally, you've returned, Doctor. Did you find anything of value?
Yes, nurse.
You've worked... your first miracle?
Duty calls. When the storm has passed, I'll...
Many thanks, Doctor.
My sweet girl. Reads me like a
Good
book.
evening, sir.
This hospital's
Never could believe anything from her.
but in the circumstances.
I'm sorry you ended up on my plane and cold medical
It's
bench.
locked.
I understand.
It's locked.
Unfair situation. I managed to arrange to have you buried in the same mass grave as your wife. I hope that might help.
Investigates business action.
Very angry about this unfair situation.
I cannot enter.
Have you buried in the same mass grave as your wife. I hope that might help.
The flower,
Oh,
It's
jadi
dying.
tas ini.
it needs water.
The Pembroke is so lucky to have Dr. Reed, you know. I met him at...
Waduh, error. Error. Bisa dan error. Game yang bagus kayak gini pasti yang ngerender nanti. Oh, ini hideout ya, hideout tempat bersembunyi. Merchant.
The Pembroke is so lucky to have Dr. Reed, you know. I met him in
Aduh, not that careful.
Good evening, Miss Howcroft. How are you tonight?
I need blood, Doctor. Warm, rich, vibrant blood.
Tell me, Thelma, why do you feel so attached to Mr. Elwood?
I'm not.
Do you plan to make him a vampire?
Of course not. How could I inflict my curse on anybody else? I'm not that cruel.
Would you say you and Mr. Elwood are romantically involved?
No. No, Thomas is a delicate soul. Even though he disguises it.
Do you require my services?
I have no need.
Ini apa sih dua ini? Kemampuan tuh
I'll leave you, Miss...
mempengaruhi orang kayaknya.
Please, Jonathan, come in. Fascinating. In
Ini
the
orang
last
yang
decade, so
tentunya
many
yang
mysteries have
mengetahui
been
kita
brought
kalau
to
kita
light
itu
with our
vampir.
microscopes. The human body, biology's penultimate frontier. The more we explore its boundaries, the less we're able to trace a clear line between life and death. You, my friend, have a foot in both countries. The view must be vertiginous.
It's at least as vertiginous as chatting about vampires with you, I would say.
This must be all so new to you. This area of town, the hospital, a brand new life. How stimulating it must be.
I wish I could share your enthusiasm, Dr. Swansea, but my condition defies scientific categorization. Undead? Unalive? Immortality defies logic.
I cannot express my thrill at this serendipitous turn of events. The world's most eminent specialist in blood transfusions, a vampire. One might say a gift from heaven.
It may seem strange, but your words have brought me some comfort here.
Forgive me. I've been an admirer of your work for a long time, and...
There is no need to apologize, Ed.
Very well. I have a task for you, Jonathan. Something that will require...
Please.
The Pembroke only survives through the generosity of our benefactors.
A spokesman or politician is what you need. That's not my calling.
Discretion is in order, Jonathan. Lady Ashbury...
And you would like me to eradicate this threat?
By the stole, of course not. I would just like you to pay her a visit. Her ladyship is certainly...
Accepted. I'll see what kind of trouble Lady Ashbury is.
Do you need...
I have just...
Then ask away.
You mentioned something about a secret society. A brotherhood, if I recall. Could you elaborate?
Certainly. I've been a member of the Brotherhood of St. Paul's Stole for several years. We are pledged to monitor and report vampire activity in England as impartial scientific observers.
Yet you don't fear me. And still, you know the monster that...
The Brotherhood has studied your kind for centuries. We believe you are as supernatural as a lion is to a gazelle.
That explains your nightly wanderings about the docks and the questions you ask.
I feel it wasn't mere coincidence that led us to that part of town. There was something as yet unseen that set those chain of events in motion.
Since you seem quite the expert on vampires, what could you tell me about my condition and how it came about?
As men of science, our first step is always to start with what we know. Forget the myths, the hackneyed scrawlings, and the penny dreadfuls. They do not scratch the surface of the truth you now find yourself in.
Must I take a life to live?
You are a vampire. You feed, and blood is the sole sustenance that can sustain your immortal frame. And only a living creature contains the nourishment you require.
The sun. The morning following my transformation. Its rays burned me. There was pain, smoke, and my skin blackened.
You will find there is very little that can kill a vampire, my friend. You have been offered relative immortality. The sun will most certainly hurt you, leaving you weakened and damaged, but it will not destroy you.
Jadi cahaya matahari tidak menghancurkan dia ya, cuma menyakiti.
The man we pursued and slew in the canning factory, William Bishop, I believe, was he a vampire?
He was a Skald, technically speaking. The debate rages as to their classification. Some think them a subspecies of vampire, others something else.
Just for clarity, what differences are there between myself and a Skald?
A Skald is easier to eliminate, Jonathan, even if they remain formidable foes for the unprepared. Vampires... Now, vampires exist beyond the mortal realm.
How do Skalds come into existence?
The name means slave. The etymology may indicate that they are a lesser species of vampire. From what I know, vampires tend to despise them.
Since I'm the one working for you, what should I...
Well, for many years, we have been the only medical facility in this part of town that people can rely on. We support the community here, as well as provide health care.
Where do we stand today?
Well, to be honest, we cope on a day-to-day basis. The first wave of the Spanish flu last summer took us by surprise. We lack many of the basic necessities needed.
What do you expect?
What we need is hope. You were a soldier. This is a war. This white coat's still a uniform. We fight to help the poor, the sick of the East End, the forgotten.
We'll see each other again soon.
Harus diklik ya suaranya biar ke trigger ini gitu.
It's locked.
What are you doing before?
Good evening, Dr. Reed. Such a...
Have you heard of someone blackmailing people in the...
Pardon me, sir, but I have...
Tell me the truth about your appointment as a medic during the war, Rakesh.
The regiment administration appointed me by mistake. I had to learn the job on the spot,
KF
sir.
Vampyr itu punya kekuatan
Very
untuk
hard, sir. But I
mengintimidasi
rose to the
lawan
challenge.
sehingga lawan itu jujur akan apa yang ditanya. You can... Oh, bukan dokter dia.
You can't impersonate a doctor. You can't improvise a medical education. People could die at your hands.
You're absolutely right, sir. But as a field surgeon, it was more like being a butcher.
Do you believe you have really helped these people?
My ratings were within the averages of the regiment. I saved lives, Dr. Reed. Does that not say enough about triage and war surgery?
Do you realize how many soldiers died because of that decision? You should have refused.
Yes, sir. I swear I did, sir. But no one listened. When the first wounded arrived, I had to do what I could.
It is an unbelievable story, Mr. Chidana.
It was a time beyond belief, Dr. Reed. But I'm happy not to deal with the wounded. I prefer caring for the dead now.
Kayaknya tuh dia bukan mengoperasi orang, tapi menjaganya saja. Let's
Please
do
show
something. Let's go.
Enough to sell.
Of course.
Aduh, nggak ngerti.
It's locked, all right.
Masih, aku mau masuk.
I'm sorry.
It's locked.
Plain and cold medical bench, sir. I understand you must be very angry about this unfair situation. I managed to arrange to have you buried in the same mass grave as your wife. I hope that might help.
Gayanya ngomong sendiri dia. Lagi bergumam. Tadi ada surat-surat. Apa ini?
Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
Pippa, are you sure you want to leave this hospital?
To become a nurse was a little girl's dream. But in the end, I don't feel that useful. I want more. I want to make things change.
You should be proud of what you've achieved. This hospital represents hope for many people in need of help.
Maybe you're right. But at the moment, I feel like we're just a cemetery waiting room.
Pipa merasa useless sebagai bidan semenjak masuk di masa besar pandemi. Pipa tidak bekerja pembicaraan couple pasangan dengan si Milton. Oh, gini cara membacanya. Ini adalah background dari setiap karakter ya. People save beds for person who can pay. The population is largely influenced by our number of years.
What steps are you prepared to take to feel more useful?
I don't know yet. My sister believes that the real fight is in the streets nowadays. Maybe she's right. Maybe this is what I must do.
What about your mate?
And what about Milton Hooks? Does he share your point of view?
For Milton, any change means more comfort and more peace. I disagree.
If you feel that saving lives is not useful enough, perhaps it means that you've lost faith.
On the contrary, my faith has never been stronger. Maybe we are all just too proud to face up to the fact that science cannot compete with God.
Milton cheats patients out of their money at this hospital, Pippa. Are you his accomplice?
Yes, I am.
Is this your definition of being useful? By abusing the sick and poor?
No. It is my definition of getting out of this useless life once and for all.
Pipa. Why did you do it?
Why do you do it?
Why not? Most of the sick who paid for a bed are already dead, or will be soon. Don't you see the futility of all this?
Setiap orang sakit harus membayar ke dia. Apa ini?
How can you be affected by the misery around you and be so heartless at the same time? Which is the real you, Nurse Hawkins?
I could ask you the same question, Dr. Reed. Are you more real when you lie to a dying patient, or when you grant him useless medication?
Whose idea was it?
What difference does it make? We did it together, and I'm guilty as charged.
Answer my question.
It was my idea first, even though Milton would say it was his, to protect me.
What steps?
I don't know yet.
If you feel that saving...
On the contrary, my faith has never been stronger. Maybe we are all just too proud to face up to the fact that science cannot compete with God.
Kayaknya dia sudah pasrah ya. Dengan fakta yang
Pepper, I know you're very close to Milton Hooks.
Yes, Milton Hooks is my man. If you want to report me for that, just feel free, Doctor.
I have no intention of reporting you, Nurse Hawkins, but are you aware of the risks?
The rules say I won't be allowed to work as a nurse anymore. But here at the Pembroke, we break rules all the time.
Is he worth the risk?
Hey, I'm no perfect woman, and Milton is not the finest bloke, but we do our best to get by. That's all any of us can hope for nowadays.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Dr. Reed, may I help you?
What can you tell me about the epidemic, Nurse Crane? I've been out of touch since I've come back to England.
Everyday folk don't know how bad it is. The papers certainly won't tell them. Not as long as the war is raging on, anyway.
News on the front stated that the Spanish flu was under control, at least in Britain.
It seemed to be for a while, but that was only last summer. It returned with a vengeance just over a month ago.
What can you tell me about our patients here at Pembroke?
This hospital was founded to help the East End poor and needy. But since the war and the quarantine, we've had all manner of folk.
Can you be more specific?
Well, veterans, the elderly, dock workers. We even have a few mental patients. If there's space, we take them.
Well, Dr. Swansea certainly has confidence in your abilities. Are you in charge of the nursing staff?
Not in an official capacity, but the Pembroke doesn't always work above board, so to speak.
How is the duty roster organized?
Everybody works until they can't. If there's time, they'll eat a meal and shed a silent tear.
What about medical protocols?
Dr. Reed, we don't have the money and resources here at the Pembroke like they do in the West End. We do what we can.
Jadi rumah sakit ini punya masalah dengan ekonomi, jadi mereka melakukan sebisanya saja.
For how long have you been working here, Nurse Crane?
I first volunteered at the Pembroke in 1911. A few months after Dr. Swansea was appointed.
And before you arrived here?
If you must know, this was my first job.
I'll see you later, Nurse Crane. Good evening, Dr. Strickland.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed.
What do you think of Dr. Ackroyd's aversion to modern medical methods?
It's a shame he's so narrow-minded. Dr. Swansea taught me that science is about exploring uncharted territory. I'm convinced that's true.
With the influenza and all that's going on, you should put your differences...
I believe that if Dr. Ackroyd had been the one to discover the transfusion process...
So you believe it's just a question of jealousy?
Dr. Ackroyd is as proud as he is blinded by his obsolete concept of medical science.
Have you heard any talk of blackmail going on in the hospital?
If If you're running some official inquiry, you had better question the patients. They know more than the staff, especially old Miss Jones.
Yawn.
Tell me, Thoreau, what's the real cause of your dislike for Dr. Ackroyd?
He refuses to admit that your blood transfusion technique is the only way to save Mr. Fiddick. I'm convinced we must...
What Dr. Ackroyd really said is that you lack the skill to perform this operation.
It's a false conceit. Dr. Ackroyd secretly envies your reputation. His jealousy blinds him. I'm not the real target here.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
My sweet girl. Reads me like a book. Even it's from a doctor.
Pengen banget
Good
menanyain
evening,
orang.
Mr. Fiddick.
Good evening, Doc.
Have you heard talk of any blackmail here at the hospital?
No, nothing.
Goodbye for now.
Always knew the words to calm the children, Ellen. With me. As for me,
Good evening, Mr.
I'm okay.
Apa nih, please?
Do you need any help?
I'm afraid I may, sir. I don't mean to be a burden.
You are not a burden, sir. Healing you is my responsibility.
And you have my gratitude for that.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Coswick.
I don't want to talk, Doctor.
Have you heard rumors?
No.
How painful.
It's so painful I'd rather not talk.
I have to go.
Take some time with me.
Good evening, Doctor.
Have you heard rumors of black...
Dr. Reed, are you trying to take advantage of me?
Of course not, Mrs. Coswick. I'm just curious.
Well, go be curious somewhere else, please.
Goodbye, Mrs.
Time with me.
The flu took my dear wife, Emily. I take comfort knowing we'll soon be together again.
Mr. Rainfield, that's no way to talk. You're in good hands here, and we'll be up again soon enough. Now do me a kindness and get some sleep. I'll be back round later.
Your word and the blessings of an angel. You're the sweet, sweet Lady of Mercy.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. It's a pleasure to see you again. You seem surprised. Dr. Swansea has brought me up to speed concerning your recent appointment to Pembroke Hospital.
You're a vamp... The lady who saved me that night. Before vanishing into thin air.
Oh, yang waktu itu ya.
I remember you from the pub with Dr. Swansea.
Indeed. Allow me to introduce myself formally this time. My name is Lady Ashbury. I remember you well, in spite of the brevity of our encounter.
Apologies. You've taken me by surprise. I'm very happy to see you.
The pleasure is mine, Doctor.
I hope you're more disposed to answer my questions now.
You must have countless questions, but our rather urgent matter first. Swansea has explained. My cover, if you prefer. has been compromised.
Have any of the patients given you trouble?
These poor souls have so little left to live for. I do my best to ease their pain.
I believe you.
The world would be a better place if it were cared for by women like you.
You make me blush. I am simply a necessary evil.
Necessary evil.
Pardon my boldness, your ladyship, but I have questions concerning this condition we share.
As a newborn, your hunger for answers is rivaled only by your thirst for blood. But the questions need wait.
I'm a scientist. My trade is in the deciphering of mysteries, and I need information to feed my mind.
I will gladly answer every question you have, but first, prove yourself capable of resolving my predicament without eating the culprit.
Have any of the
You make me blush.
Have any of the world?
You make me.
Dr. Swansea has commissioned me to be your agent in this matter. You could start by explaining what's amiss.
These past insufferable weeks, I've been the victim of extortion. I've made a first payment, but the blackmailer grows greedy. I must refuse his most recent demands.
What are your expectations? Please be precise.
As the newly appointed surgeon of this hospital, you are in an excellent position to ask innocent questions and deftly learn the identity of my blackmailer.
If we're dealing with an ordinary criminal, surely you've the means to deal with it yourself, if I may.
As immortal tradition doth dictate, all fangs and hypnotic eyes ablaze, the blood would run like a river. That's what I hope to avoid. Violence has a tendency to spiral out of control.
Who would be so foolish as to threaten you? A kindred spirit?
Even if it were the case, and I highly doubt it, a vampire would have asked for something more valuable than money. My suspicions lean toward a patient or their family.
Please continue. Every detail is essential. I'm your man.
My embarrassment in this matter is eclipsed only by my shame at having put the hospital at risk. The threat from our anonymous scoundrel is clear. A list of dates. My visits coinciding with the dates of suspicious patient deaths due to massive blood loss.
Is it true?
Now aren't you the blunt one?
Excuse my impertinence, your ladyship. This is not an interrogation. I assure you that this line of questioning is in your best interest.
In all honesty, I'm not simply a patron to the hospital. My visits serve a dual purpose. Dr. Swansea has been treating my condition with a revolutionary technique of blood transfusion. It seems you are a specialist in the domain.
I'll take care of it. Do you know where I should start?
If that was the case, I'd settle the matter myself. You could talk to our local gossip, Harriet Jones. Not a pin drops here without her hearing about it.
I'll meet that woman now.
My life, as others know, is in your hands, Dr. Reed. I'm sure of your discretion, but I do fear your powers of persuasion will be put to the test. When this is resolved, I'll be your obligé. I'll answer all questions in regards of your condition. Is our little
I think of
my situation?
Dr. Reed, you know. I met him in New York once.
If only there were more of us, with less resignation and more determination.
I know I can do it. I wish I could say.
Good evening, Dr. Tibbets.
Dr. Reed.
Have you heard of any underhand dealings
I have no time.
Goodbye, Doc. Good evening, Nurse Hawkins. Have you heard of any underhand dealings within the hospital?
I don't have time for such nonsense.
Blackmail is a serious matter, Nurse.
Everything is serious around here, Dr. Reed. Start.
Are you certain? You seem nervous.
If you have something in mind, just speak up, Doctor. Otherwise, stop breathing down my neck.
Have you heard of any...
I don't have time.
Goodbye, Nurse. Good evening, Milton.
Good evening.
What's going on between you and Nurse Hawkins?
Pippa's tired. Tired of all this shit. Tired of all those corpses piling up. She's as depressed as I am.
You do realize you could both get fired. Hospital staff are not meant to have intimate relationships with one another.
Come on, Dr. Reed. Do you know how many rules are broken in this hospital every day just to keep it running? There's nothing wrong with what we're doing.
During the war, I witnessed a few couples just like you come together in difficult circumstances. It can be very damaging.
Maybe you're right. But we support each other. And
do you know that Nurse Hawkins is thinking of leaving the hospital?
that's not a surprise. We've talked about it already.
Does it not bother you?
Sometimes I think she may be right. We should run away while we can. Question is, where can we go? Where is it safe?
Admit it. Nurse Hawkins is more than your lover. She's also your partner in crime.
Of course she is. How else could I tell which bed is free? I need to know that.
Have you no shame?
Don't you see the city is crumbling down? Today people are ready to pay to get a hospital bed. Tomorrow we may be fighting for food.
Have you heard of any...
There are a lot of secrets round here. I'm not surprised someone tried to make money from them.
What kind of secrets?
I'm not in the gossip business, Dr. Reed. If you want to know more, you better talk to Harriet Jones. She's the eldest patient here.
Goodbye.
What is this? Who are you? Get out of my room.
There's no need for alarm, madam. I'm Dr. Reed, the new surgeon.
Preposterous. Dr. Reed, you say? I don't want some bumbling intern. Where's Dr. Swansea?
Dr. Swansea is quite busy, and I need you to help me get acclimated. I have many questions.
How brave. Threatening an old defenseless woman. You know how long I've been a patient here? You've picked the wrong fight. I'm Harriet Jones.
Harriet Jones? Indeed. I've been meaning to have a chat with you. You know what goes on here better than any other patient, I gather.
Oh, better than any patient, nurse or doctor. I've seen so many vile undertakings.
I heard that there have been some despicable goings-on. Was there a case of blackmail?
Blackmail? Wait.
If I didn't know better, Miss Jones, I'd be inclined to say you enjoy this type of idle gossip.
God's honest truth, Doctor. It's just the way it is here. Most of these bitches would let you freeze to death before getting you a blanket.
You seem to know more about the goings-on here than anyone else. Beware, Miss Jones, in case suspicion should fall on you.
That's it. Blame the old and infirm. I see those little bitches' greedy little eyes, just waiting for me to pop off they are.
I assure you, madam, this is not an investigation into a possible medical error.
Debauchery, then? Nurses Crane, Hawkins, Brannigans, whores, all of them. They can't keep their legs shut. I've seen them scratching slutty sores.
Really? Well, if you have irrefutable proof, I'll not have the staff behaving in such a manner here.
This is your business, Doctor, not mine. But I swear one of the nurses is cavorting with some man on hospital hours.
Thank you for your time, Miss Jones. You've given me something to go on. See you on the next round. Miss Jones. Now.
Well,
have you noticed any...
It would be a great deal easier to make a list of things unsuspicious in this house of charlatans.
Come now, Miss Jones. Surely it's not that bad.
Have you no eyes? This hospital accepts all manner of souls, regardless of origin. The proper sick cannot heal. We're kept sickened by the refugees.
Everyone here is very capable. I have not seen any instances of unprofessionalism.
Thieves and murderers, the lot. People have gone missing here, you know. Poof, without a trace.
If you could just tell me why you were admitted.
It's terrible, Doctor. What with a pain in my chest, coughing up blood, and I get awfully tired. Wouldn't be so bad if I hadn't lost my house and all.
I see.
No one comes to visit, you know. Not even my own flesh and blood.
I'll come and visit you. The patients and staff might know something. I'll start my investigation with them.
Giant morgue disguised as a hospital.
Hello again, Dr. Reed. I feel better.
Goodbye, mister. Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
What can you tell me about the strange man visiting one of the nurses during her shift?
Let me guess. You spoke with that old shrew, Harriet Jones. Do not pay attention to her, Doctor. She's full of fanciful tales.
She could have been telling the truth about the mysterious man.
That old witch will end up in hell soon enough. Who cares if a nurse finds some happiness where she can?
No matter how you feel about her, Miss Jones deserves our help.
Who says I don't care for her? Hate is what keeps that old crone alive.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
I have wasted too much energy for so little result.
Good evening, Mr. L.
Evening.
do you feel responsible for the injury, Thomas? What really happened?
I wasn't disfigured by any German shells. It happened during my leave. It was an accident.
Tell me what really happened then.
I went with a whore in Rouen. Dead drunk I was. The hotel was a shithole. There was a fire that night.
Did you start the fire? Were you trying to avoid going back to the front? That's not uncommon, you know.
No. It's just that I was asleep when the flames reached the room. The girl was long gone. Bitch never woke me up. Left me to burn.
Why lie about it?
Come on. It's one thing to come back disfigured by the Germans, and it's another to get injured in an accident that could have happened to anybody.
Reconstructive surgery has been very successful for some soldiers.
I don't want to wear a bloody mask for the rest of my life. I'd rather stay here and just be forgotten.
Have you heard rumors of underhand dealings in the...
If you want to know what's going on here, you better talk to Miss Jones. She knows everything. Especially what she shouldn't.
Goodbye. Good evening, Miss.
I need blood, Doctor.
Have you heard of it?
I have no time for mortal games.
I'll...
Apa sih?
Good evening, Doctor.
And good evening.
Goodbye, Doctor.
Naon ada anan ya?
Good evening, Nurse Brannigan.
Good evening, Doctor.
What is Tibet?
Why does Dr.
Oh,
Tippett
nama
claim
orang.
you're the main reason he keeps working, despite his fatigue?
If it wasn't for him, I probably would have left the Pembroke years ago.
Dr. Tippett does not think of you as just a nurse anymore, does he?
If you're suggesting he's not taking my gender into consideration when it comes to medical practice and knowledge, I really hope he doesn't.
Do you know if...
The people who work here all come from very different backgrounds, Doctor. Just like the patients.
Have you seen a strange man visiting any of the nurses here?
I've never heard of such a thing, Doctor.
Goodbye, Nan.
Is our little mystery?
I think of nothing.
My situation is delicate, and it occupies all my thoughts. The blackmail
Where is Dorothy? Rest. Udahlah, terima kasih yang udah nonton.